thing. Right now I'm seeing myself there. Okay. Post. And pushed. Then enter. Then paste, yes. Promotion, bleh, bleh. Bleh, bleh. Bleh, bleh. X out of that. Then bring out the pop out chat. And go over to here. And yeah. Alright, now let me just see how many people are watching. Got 4 watching now. And Avenue Teal in the comments. Alright, I think we are ready to go. So, hey guys, Redder and Shades here, exercising my First Amendment rights stream style. And this stream is going to be a lot like the stream that I did about the punk rock MBA genre tier list. This is a idea I had for a series of streams that I wanted to do of tier lists of the Guitar Hero soundtracks. I don't think I'm going to be doing like all of them. I'm only going to be doing the ones that I own and or am passionate about. So I'm probably only just going to be doing just the one and just do one per stream. So with that in mind, yes, blah blah blah. It's going all right, hair metal brony. Hope everyone, by the way, enjoyed the little funny haha video I uploaded today, containing that, little clip from Repsion and my little thing that I said. Hope everyone enjoyed that. I had fun making that. I stopped listening to a mashup of Guerrilla Radio, Rage Against the Machine, and Give Me More by Britney Spears when I got the notification. How are you? Doing all right, Oleander. I'm thinking, and hello, Venom Blazer. Hello. I think this stream should be pretty fun. So, with that in mind, let's switch on show. Because I'm also kind of toying with the idea of adding that part to my intro. Like, during my intro, you hear, like, sort of an echo of, "'Cause I'm redder in shades, bitch!" And then that goes. Anyway, let's transition over to the GIMP scene, where we have a blank tier list, and might be getting a vinyl player for my birthday. I'm not going to reveal what I might be getting for my birthday because because I'm that much of a hipster shitlord, if you say so. There isn't really any specific order that I'm going to be going in for this. It's just ordered alphabetically by the file name because I didn't come up with new file names for the images that I'm going to use. So let's just jump right into it, as they say. So, the first song that we got on here is Sharp Dressed Man by ZZ Top. a song in, wait, fuck, hold on. This is supposed to be locked before I resize it so y'all can see it. Alright, so, this is a song in the second tier in the first game, and it's a pretty fun song, really catchy. Those of you that have been watching me for a long time will probably remember me using this song in the collab that me and the Random Gangsta did on one Muck Fetalcore, where there's a montage of us putting on Avenged Sevenfold shirts and whatnot, which is like really corny and cheesy and whatnot, but I don't know, the song itself is kind of cheesy, but I've always thought it had a bit of a charm to it. So I think the song is pretty good. So where am I going to rank it? First, let me come up with a size for this. A little smaller. I'm going to put this in the... I'm going to put it in the 8 here. It's fun. Nothing wrong with vinyl. Next, we have Ziggy Stardust by David Bowie. I almost said Davy Bowie, which I'm sure some people probably call him. Wouldn't say I like this one as much as Sharp Dressed Man. I also wouldn't go as far as to say I'm majorly huge into David Bowie. I mean, I respect him as an artist. He does have some good material. I'm just not someone that goes like super all out with Bowie. But this is a song I would consider one of my general favorites if you asked me for like my favorite David Bowie songs. My actual favorite from him would be... my actual favorite from him would be Rock and Roll With Me from Diamond Dogs. So I'm going to put this... I'm going to put this in the B tier. I should make the ZZ Top one smaller, too. $121 is the size of that, so 121 will be the size of that. That'll be the rule of thumb. I feel like ZZ Top is cheesy, but it's fun cheesy, but not in an ironic sense. Yeah, and going along with that, you know, Billy Gibbons is a good guitarist. I've always thought he was like the talent of the band, but that's kind of a given and whatnot. I mean, ZZ Top is going to come up again in a future one of these streams, so we will get to that later. All right, get an email notification. You're now live. Swell. Next, we got Thunderkiss 65 by White Zombie, the song that was my exposure to them. Well, then again, you know, my exposure to most of these bands was in this game. I'm also not a massive David Bowie fan, but he's got some pretty damn good ones. Young Americans, Heroes, Somebody Up There Like Me, Fame, etc. MCR's best album turns 18 tomorrow. Ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. Anyway. This song I remember being kind of fun in the game. Got really groovy, catchy riff. I always liked that. I always liked the lead work in here. I always thought that was pretty cool and pretty flashy and all that. White Zombie are definitely a band that I would consider a favorite as far as industrial metal goes and whatnot. Rob Zombie I've always found to be a very charismatic and unique frontman. This is a very entertaining song of White Zombie's. It might be my favorite. I'm not too sure. Wouldn't say I'm a major White Zombie fan at that, but I like the song fine. So, bring it down to 121. and we'll put this in the A tier. I hate it when there's a song that has truly great instrumentation and melody, but due to lyricism, it's panned by critics. Spandau Ballet. Next, what is this? Oh, yeah. Fat Lip by Sum 41, baby. I love this. Very, very, very much. I thought the song ruled in the game. Thought it was fun as crap. And it's been fun as crap to listen to ever since then. You can't go wrong with this. It's not my favorite from Sum 41. That would go to a song on Does This Look Infected called Billy Spleen. It's got a pretty cool... got a pretty cool riff there. But yeah, you really can't go wrong with freaking Fat Lip. It's a fun song, fun to sing along to. They were fun to see live on fucking Halloween last year. Made for great Halloween plans, where instead of actually having normal Halloween plans, I go out as an angsty pop punk kid who doesn't want to waste his time and become another casualty of society. So yeah, love this very much. Sum 41, after all, are my third favorite pop punk band after Bayside and State Champs, and this song is definitely a big part of why they are very special. S tier for sure. I mean, it's skate punk meets thrash by the Sums. Yeah, I suppose. They've definitely gotten thrashier over time. Definitely more metal as the albums go. They've gotten, like, heavier with each album, if you notice. Like, that's something I've noticed about, like, all of their albums. It's always heavier than the last. Next, Texas Flood by Stevie Ray Vaughan. This song is another one of my favorites in the game. Like, for a while it was my actual favorite in the game. Like, one thing about 11-year-old Shades or 12-year-old Shades is, even at that young of an age, I was a sucker for lengthy guitar solos, and that was a big selling point for me with this song. Like, pretty much all of the playing in this song is just soloing over just a kind of slow-moving bass line and the drums going... I always really liked blues songs that have that format. One other weird thing, though, about this song is that since licensing rights were kind of different early on in the franchise's history, and all the songs in the first game were covers, I remember finding it really weird when I listened to the original recording how Stevie Ray Vaughan's voice sounded nothing like the singer in the game. His real voice is like, well, there's a flooding down in Texas, where in the game it kind of sounds like a surfer dude. Well, there's a flooding down in Texas. That's what it kind of sounded like. I found that kind of funny. But yeah, I love this. 121. Also a definite S tier. What's up, Evil Gangster? How you doing? Next, we got everybody's favorite, Smoke on the Goddamn Water. The song that everybody that's touched a guitar knows how to play, even if they don't really know how to play guitar. Yes, I have gotten kind of soured on this song as the years went on, but honestly, what's important to note is, you know, for as much as this song might have kind of soured on you, Deep Purple are actually a very, very good band. Ritchie Blackmore is an excellent guitarist. The lineup on the album this comes from, Machine Head, the lineup there is just absolutely excellent. Ian Gillan, great vocalist. John Lord, may God rest his soul, very good keyboardist. Ian Pace is kind of a monster on the kit. And then you got Roger Glover on bass. Even when Ian Gillan left and they got David Coverdale singing on Burn and Stormbringer, even he sounded good with them. He would then, of course, you know, leave and form Whitesnake. And after, I think, the next album after that is when Ritchie Blackmore formed Rainbow. Just all three of these bands, Deep Purple, Whitesnake, and Rainbow, all very excellent. They're all sort of rooted in this Deep Purple thing, and that's why Deep Purple is such an important band. But really, outside of that, you know, you really can't go wrong with them. Like, pretty much every other song on Machine Head, particularly Lazy, Highway Star, Space Truckin', can't go wrong with those. Deep Purple are excellent. So, am I going to put this in S tier? The solo in Smoke on the Water has always been my favorite part. I always thought that was very excellent. Again, because Ritchie Blackmore is just amazing. And for that reason, I'm going to put it in S tier. Not to mention, of course, the legacy of the song and whatnot, even though it's kind of a meme nowadays, especially after that whole incident with one of Jared Dine's videos getting blocked because of him not even playing the original song, but just singing the riff with his voice. And it still got blocked for some reason. I have no idea how that fucking works. All that really says to me is that his voice must be really that good at mimicking a guitar tone if the copyright system can pick that up. At least it's not Freebird. We will get to that. Deep Purple, baby. Smoke on the Water should be the true forbidden riff in Guitar Centers. I agree. I actually seen them live with Judas Priest. Swell. I'm not sure if Deep Purple would be a band that I would want to see live these days. I mean, Steve Morse is a very good guitarist, and on keyboards they have Don Airey with them. And then other than those two, they have, you know, the classic members. They have Gillan, Glover, and Pace. Jared Dines is the god of gent, if you say so. I guess as far as YouTube guitarists, I would say, though even then I feel like Pete Cottrell might be better. Jared Dine's voice is a whole guitar. Yes, Smoke on the Water, the one that introduced me to Deep Purple. Not within my top favorite DP songs, but I owe it a lot for exposing me to so many killer songs. Exactly. That's why I can't hate the song. I know that Stairway to Heaven is the only song known that people can't play there. And on another note of like YouTube guitarists, apparently, I had no idea this even became his most viewed video, but my senpai Tyler Larson of Music Is Win, I think this took place at like the Summer NAMM, I want to say, in 2017 or 2018, where he's going to all these booths and then just ending the thing there by playing the Stairway riff, and then they just put their hand on the guitar saying "No Stairway," and then he just makes this face like he's just like, what? That's a funny video. Moving on. Next we got I Want to Be Sedated by the Ramones. A story I gotta tell you about this song. So when Adam Neely put out his video about the worst jazz solo of all time, where it's literally just a guy playing one note and that's it, I left a comment on the video saying, so this is basically the jazz equivalent of I Want to Be Sedated by the Ramones, because I've always hated that about this song. It's not a bad song, and I do enjoy the Ramones. The song has a catchiness to it. I just hate the solo. It's literally just an open string. It's, you know, he doesn't even have the courtesy of playing the note on the 5th fret of the B string or the 8th fret of the G string. He just does the open string. I can tell it's the open string because there's just no emotion in the dexterity or anything like that. It's just it's like, okay. I mean, yeah, it fits harmonically, but that's really it. So I'm gonna put this in the B tier. Well, they're a punk band anyway. To me, they're like the first like real punk band, the first band to really do punk, I would say. Next, what is this? Burning Brides with Heart Full of Black, a song that I really do not care for. I never really liked the song that much in the game, and the song didn't really enthuse me to really look further into this band. It has kind of a generic progression, like G, T, A. It's like, ugh. I've heard that enough. I mean, the chorus, I guess, has kind of a cool riff to it, kind of a surf-sounding thing going for it. But other than that, I really couldn't care less for the song. I don't hate the song, which is why I'm not going to put it in F tier, but I'm going to put it in D tier. The real punk, the father of punk, exactly. Honestly, another thing about like 70s punk, this might be probably controversial, but I've never cared for Sex Pistols or The Clash. I always liked the Ramones so much better than both of them. Everybody is like, oh, the Sex Pistols is the best punk band ever. The Clash is the best punk band ever. Or anything like that. It's like, moving on. Godzilla by Blue Oyster Cult. Another song I very much love in this game. The soloing in this is just, ooh. This really definitely enthused me about Blue Oyster Cult. I wouldn't say I love Blue Oyster Cult, but this was definitely a song that really enthused me about them. This is not even my favorite song. My favorite song of theirs, you're going to see later in this series of streams. But Godzilla is, something you really cannot go wrong with. The friggin' shredding from Mr. Buck Dharma. Cannot go wrong with that at all. I'm putting this in the S tier. Let me check the chat. I like London Calling better than Combat Rock when it comes to the Clash. Good for you. Clash is just not really my thing. I always just thought they were nothing about their sound really enthused me that much. But here we got another song that also didn't really enthuse me very much. Take It Off by the Donnas. One of a very small number of songs with a female vocalist in this game. This song is also not awful, but it also just, nothing really about it really made me excited at all. Excited to play the song or even listen to it all that much. It's the only song I'm familiar with at all by the Donnas. So shrink this down to 121. And I'm going to put this also in the E tier because I can't really say I hate it at all. They say he's got to go Godzilla. Woo! Next, we got No One Knows by Queens of the Stone Age. Another song that introduced me to this band and definitely enthused me to look further into Queens of the Stone Age. I liked the riffing that you hear, and not to mention, of course, this song is also aided by the fact that Dave Jesus Grohl is playing drums on this. So yeah. And the solo was also pretty cool. Pretty crazy sounding for a band that doesn't really do a whole lot of, crazy guitar shreddery and whatnot. By Josh Homme, who's a real homie. So, my favorite song, Queens of the Stone Age, you're also going to be seeing later, but this would definitely, I'd say, be up there. It's a pretty fun song. I'm going to put this in the A tier. I don't recall this one in the game. Then again, I haven't played GH1 a decade. Queens of the Stone Age. I forgot No One Knows is in the game. It's great. Next. A song that I talked about in my most recent video, apart from the joke video I posted today, More Than a Feeling by Boston. Song, it was not ranked super high in the video, but it's still a song I very much love and appreciate and think is great and has a lot going for it. Very emotional sound and so much going for it. Watch my Boston video if you haven't. I'm very, very proud of that video. A lot of heart went into that video, especially the further you get into the video. So I don't think I need to say too much more about the song since I already talked about it enough in that video. I'm gonna put this in the S tier because it's on my favorite album of all time. This one is very popular though. Next we got Symphony of Destruction by Megadeth. This might just be the song that really made me interested in metal. Because of all the metal songs in this game, this one was definitely my favorite. I remember being really, really intrigued by the riff, so much to the point that back when I briefly took guitar lessons, it was a riff that I actually wanted to learn. And as a result, yeah, I know the riff quite well. I wish I could play the solo on a real guitar. I wish I could do everything Marty Friedman does. But yeah, this song is awesome. I love it very much. I owe a lot to it because the root of me getting into metal could probably be traced back to this song. Of all the metal songs in this game, it gets traced back to probably this song. And for that reason, it's a no-duh S tier. Have you heard the version from the Zookeeper movie with Kevin James? I have never watched that movie because it just seemed a bit cheesy for my liking. I enjoy comedy movies, but that one just seemed a bit cheesy. That video of which a comment of mine inspired Shades to make, was it actually your comment? Anyway, next you got Another Thing Coming by Judas Priest, another metal song that very much enthused me in the game. Pretty fun to play. I remember thinking the solo friggin' rips. And yeah, definitely enthused me with Judas Priest. This might be like my second favorite metal song after my second favorite metal song in the game, I should say, after Symphony of Destruction. And this is from my favorite Judas Priest album, Screaming for Vengeance. It's not my favorite Judas Priest song. My favorite Judas Priest song is also on Screaming for Vengeance, and as a song you're going to be seeing later in this series of streams. But you can't go wrong with this song. It's catchy. It's got a ripping solo. As 66 Sama says, it's great! S tier for this. What do we got next? We got Stellar by Incubus. A song I really like from a 90s band that I consider one of my favorites of the decade, and it's from an album that is my second favorite album of 1999 after Scenes from a Memory by Dream Theater, this being Make Yourself by Incubus. This is a great song. Favorite song of theirs, though, is not on that album, nor is it included in a Guitar Hero game, to my knowledge anyway, unless I'm forgetting something. My favorite song of Incubus's would be Dig. But this song is quite good. I've always liked the effects that Mike Einziger used. That's the thing I've always really appreciated about Mike Einziger. As him being like the godfather of like the pedal board effects. So I'm gonna put this one in the A tier because it's got a bit holding it back from S tier. Yeah, Symphony of Destruction, although popular, is actually an amazing song. And yeah, Megadeth are easily one of my all-time favorite bands, especially the album Rust in Peace. Yeah, Rust in Peace is one of my favorite albums ever, and it's my favorite album of 1990. Is it Living After Midnight by any chance? No, I actually don't really like that song. That song is a bit poppy for my liking. I'm just saying my favorite song from Judas Priest is on a Guitar Hero soundtrack that you're going to be seeing later. It's just not this particular one. Moving on. The very first song in the first tier, and the one song that I was already familiar with before playing the game for the first time. I Love Rock and Roll by Joan, Jett, and the Blackhearts. It's another song that everybody knows, and is a song I'm sort of sick of. I can't really say I'm the hugest Joan Jett fan. I always thought she was just kind of... I've always found her to be kind of average as far as, like, 80s hard rock artists go. That, and I'm kind of sick of the song. I don't hate it, but I'm kind of sick of it. But, I'm not going to rank it super low. I'm just going to put it in D tier. It's not below average enough for E tier, and I don't hate it enough to put in F tier. So, yeah. I think Incubus was also played in Final Destination 2, more specifically the song Vitamin. Yeah. I sparked your interest in making the Boston video after I asked you about ranking the songs as self-titled, at least on the album stuff against the video from last year. I think I probably had the idea for that video at that time as well. And I do have a lot of material for a follow-up to the album extravaganza video. It's just a matter of when I don't really have anything better to do a video on before I put that video together. Next we got Unsung by Helmet. A song that I consider to be pretty underappreciated, especially on this game. Helmet is actually a very early innovator in alternative metal, and I don't really feel enough credit is really given to them. This is, of course, the song that exposed me to them, a song that has a lot of elements that I remember being really intrigued by my first time playing, whether it be the drum beat at the beginning where it's or, you know, the pretty catchy sounding verse riff. I always really liked that. The rest of the song, I could kind of take or leave, but... Oh, another thing I always really like, after the first chorus where the drum's like... It's great. The rest of the song I could kind of take or leave. The ending part, I kind of find to be a bit boring, but other than that, song's pretty awesome. And Meantime is definitely an album worth checking out. I'm putting this in the A tier. Unsung, as for me, I have GTA San Andreas to thank for introducing me to that song in the band. Next, got Take Me Out by Franz Ferdinand. This is the only song I really like from Franz Ferdinand. I've never really been all that crazy about them. I've listened to some other songs of them, but they just didn't really enthuse me the way that Take Me Out did. It's catchy. It's got a very memorable riff. I remember that really sticking with me early on when I was playing the game for the first time, and the lyrics are kind of pathetic sounding, but also kind of charming and whatnot. That's why I just can't hate the song at all. I'm just not really all that enthused by Franz Ferdinand. This is just the only song I really care about from them. And for that reason, I'm going to put this in the B tier. GTA soundtracks are awesome. Love Franz Ferdinand. I respect your different opinion. Cool. I don't think they're a bad band. I'm just not all that interested in them. They just never really left that lasting of an impression on me beyond that one song. Next, we got Frankenstein by the Edgar Winter Group, a song that I featured in my favorite instrumental songs video. Pretty high in that video, because it's a very memorable instrumental with a very memorable riff and a bunch of soloing from a multitude of different instruments and whatnot. That's the thing that I always really loved about this song, especially in parts one thing I found really interesting about the version in this game, the cover version, is the part where there's like a pull-off portion. I'm not sure if he's tapping that. It kind of sounds like a synth in the game, and it actually made me think of friggin' intergalactic outer space stuff. And it's, of course, aided by that weird spaceship-sounding sound effect. That whole thing that I highlighted in the video. It's a fun song. Love it a lot. I, of course, got to put this in the S tier. Next, what do we got? We got another song that didn't really leave much of an impression on me. Hey You by the X's. It's an alright song. Got a pretty nice chorus, definitely. But this was never a band that I was all that enthused to look further into, really. Nothing really beyond this one song. Kind of similar to what I said about Franz Ferdinand. Is, you know, all they really have going for them is just this. And it's a pretty cool sounding song, but I've never really just been that interested in looking more into this band. I'm sure they got some other good material, but I'm going to put this in the B tier. Because I'd much rather, I'd for sure listen to it over the lower tier ones. Let me guess. 2 number 9s, a number 9 large, a number 6 with extra dip, a number 7, number 2, 45S, one with cheese, and a large soda. The first time I really remember hearing Frankenstein was in YTP Deep Frying Nemo from Emp Lemon. Swell. You know I love Emp. He's one of my senpais on YouTube. Yeah. And in some of his videos, I've heard him play an 8-bit version of Frankenstein, which is kind of neat, but like 8-bit is 8-bit. Next, we got Cowboys from Hell by Pantera. Another song that I remember enthusing me a good bit. It's quite fun. Pretty cool riff that I've always really liked. Solo I always thought was really great. Not my favorite Pantera song, but it's from my favorite album of theirs, which is, of course, Cowboys from Hell. Honestly, when it comes to Pantera, you know, I really wish this song was included in a Guitar Hero soundtrack. Friggin' Cemetery Gates. It's one of the best songs of all time. I love that song so very much. But as far as, you know, the title track from that album goes, can't go wrong with that at all. You know, it's a head turner, and it's a groovy one. So this also has to go in S. I'm gonna run out of room here. How much do I have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 more. I doubt they're all going to be S tiers, but hopefully, you know, it doesn't become an issue for me. One of my all-time favorite albums of all time. That's a very redundant sounding sentence. Yeah, especially Domination, The Art of Shredding, Message in Blood are just pure awesome. Of course, Cowboys from Hell is great. It's awesome. Another one of my favorites of 1990. Next, we got the song that I would consider probably the most difficult in the main set list in the final tier. It's Bark at the Moon by Ozzy Osbourne. Another one of my favorites from Ozzy. A song that when I saw Ozzy with Space Metal back in 2018, he opened with this song, and we were kind of late getting in, so we missed him playing this, and I was pretty bummed about that. But this is great. Bark at the Moon, the album, is my second favorite after No More Tears. And thing you love about this. Jakey Lee friggin' rips on this. And this song in particular, like, he just goes nuts. And that's what makes this song so freaking crazy. And it's also just pretty fun and fast and has a good bit going for it. That's why it's one of my favorites. From the Prince of Darkness. S tier, baby. Jakey Lee is my personal favorite Ozzy guitarist. Honestly, I would say same. Honestly, I don't feel Jakey Lee gets nearly as much love as Randy Rhoads or Zakk Wylde. I love them both, but Jakey Lee, and honestly, while Jakey Lee is on my mind, if you have not listened to this band, listen to the band that Jakey Lee formed after he left Ozzy's band, Badlands. The 2 albums that they put out are very good bluesy hair metal, especially the first album. It's a fun listen. And Badlands is a very underrated band. And if you like Jakey Lee, you should probably listen to that band. And of course, he's got Red Dragon Cartel right now, which is pretty good. Not bad. Bark at the Moon so much, yes. Love Randy and Zakk, but wow. Yeah, like, honestly, I feel Ozzy really lucked out. Like, if you're going to replace a guy like Randy Rhoads, you really lucked out with him. Next, we got Infected by Bad Religion. Another one of my favorites in, like, classic hardcore and whatnot. I've always had an appreciation for Bad Religion and their material. Infected, I wouldn't say is among my favorites from them. My favorite from Bad Religion would be Sorrow from Process of Belief. But Infected has a charm to it, I guess. Especially when you consider, like, the time that this album came out. This was, like, 94, I think. Either 94 or 93 when Stranger Than Fiction came out. But it's an alright song. I dig it fine. I'm going to put this in the B tier. Next, we got Cochise by Audioslave. A song that I didn't care that much for my first time playing the game. I thought the song was kind of repetitive and all that. But at the same time, though, the riff is pretty cool sounding. The riffs, I should say. And the sort of short solo break in there is pretty neat sounding. Though I have heard better from Audioslave. And I mentioned this in my What's Wrong With on Rage Against the Machine, how I later found out after getting into Rage that Tom Morello, Tim Comerford, and Brad Wilk played in this band as well, with Chris Cornell, may God rest his soul, on vocals. And it really made me grow to appreciate Audioslave a lot more, especially when I listened to more songs of theirs. So I definitely have an appreciation for Cochise, but my favorite song of theirs, I would say, is probably Be Yourself. I'm going to put this in the A tier. It was one of my first metal songs I ever purchased on iTunes back in 2009. Takes me back to GTA Vice City as well. Happy late birthday, Chris Cornell. Oh my God, that's right. Because it was not that long ago. It was like a couple months ago when the anniversary of his death. And of course, when Chester Bennington took his life, it was like on Chris Cornell's birthday, which is kind of cryptic and whatnot because the two of them were very close and whatnot. That's the thing I found kind of strangely beautiful about Chester Bennington's death, is that it had a very kind of beautiful kind of tie-in to Chris Cornell. So, yeah, rest in peace to both of them. Next, we got a song from another May God Rest His Soul artist, Motorhead, with Ace of Spades. Pretty rippin' song. Though, I can't really say I'm the biggest Motorhead fan. They got some good material, and Another Perfect Day is definitely my favorite album of theirs. And this song definitely is influential. It's fast and has a pretty ripping solo and a fast sounding riff and whatnot. And it's of course a cool song to jam out to if you ever go to Vegas and all that. Which that'd be pretty cool to do and meet up with Thrash Metal Guru. I can't really say I love Motorhead as much as a lot of people like to say. They're a band I respect more than I like. But Lemmy, I would definitely say, is definitely a great character in the metal world, and definitely someone you can't go wrong with. A very iconic sounding voice as well. I'm going to put this song, for that reason, in the A tier. I'm still stunned that he's gone. So many grunge vocalists left us way too soon, of course. Right now, as far as like grunge goes, I think all we really have is just Pearl Jam and Smashing Pumpkins, and not much else. And it would be crazy news to hear if either Billy Corgan or Eddie Vedder died. Next, we got Higher Ground by the Red Hot Chili Peppers version, which is, of course, a cover from Stevie Wonder. I was already listening to the Chili Peppers by the time I heard this song in the game. I just wasn't familiar with this particular song. I'd already owned Californication, and this was kind of around the time I had first listened to Stadium Arcadium, and it's for that reason that it took me a bit to really appreciate older Chili Peppers, but then once I listened to Blood Sugar Sex Magic, that's when I started to really get a feel for it as well, and then I appreciated this a lot more. Of course, this has a very iconic and memorable slap bass line, and I love this a lot more than I did. Of course, since Chili Peppers are one of my favorite bands, that helps as well. I'm going to put this in the S tier. I only really wish it had more going on in the guitar, like there was a solo and whatnot, because all it really has is just the... It's fun. It's just, kind of leaves you wanting more. That's a feeling I remember having back then. And on the topic of Red Hot Chili Peppers, welcome back to John Frusciante, baby. I hope that they're working on some new music with him, because I would be very, very, very much excited for that. A lot more excited than I was for either I'm With You or The Getaway. R.I.P. Kurt, Lane, Scott, and Chris. We also have Mark Lanigan, even though Screaming Trees disbanded 2 decades ago. I suppose you also have Buzz Osbourne of Melvins as well. Would you really consider Smashing Pumpkins grunge, though? Not that I'm knocking your opinion, but it's merely a question. They get grouped in with grunge because they're around the same time, and they didn't really fit in anywhere else and whatnot, because they weren't a metal band, they weren't a hard rock band, and they had more of a grungy sound at the time. And Billy Corgan, I guess, had a voice that you could sort of parallel to other grunge vocalists, because he had a bit of a sad rasp to it. Smashing Pumpkins do have some grunge elements in the music. Yeah, pretty much just what I was saying. Moving on. Next we got... Come on, fast scroll. Next we got Killer Queen by Queen. Another song that kind of confused me my first time playing it in the game. This was my first exposure to Queen, of course. And it's another song I grew to really love more and more as time went on, and I got more of a feel for Queen, because I didn't really know much about Queen other than the fact that We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions were both by Queen. And this is the only other thing that I knew from Queen. This is before I heard Bohemian Rhapsody, before I heard Somebody to Love, before I heard Hammer to Fall, before I heard Brighton Rock, before I heard any of these other wonderful and cool Queen songs that are just great. Queen are just one of the greatest bands to ever exist, and once you sort of listen to those other songs and then sort of hear those elements in Killer Queen, you get more of an appreciation for the vocals and the various guitar stuff, the various guitar parts going on. It's not as heavy of a song, but it's got a groove to it, it's got a charm to it, and of course, for those reasons, it's cool. Love it. Another one of these extended S tiers over here. Guaranteed to blow your mind. And another topic of Killer Queen by Queen. If any of you watch Diamond X Studios, who is the music reviewer who did that big collab, big charity shout-out collab where when talking in his worst songs of 2019 video about Earth by Lil Dicky, and I appeared in there and I promoted my friend's band Shakeout. If any of you watch him, he did a top 10 video for the year 1975, and this song was on the list, and he talked about the song as if Queen is just this band that nobody's heard of, and I'm like, and my comment on that video, I was like, holy fuck, all of my years as a ride or die rocker, and I've never heard of this Queen band. They have just the sound that I think I've been missing and all I've been listening to. So thanks for exposing me to this band, Sean. I really appreciate you. Love that guy. Up next, got 3 more. Wow. Kind of blazing through this. We got Crossroads by Cream. Another song that I remember really enthused me a lot for having a very lengthy and cool sounding solo, and quite fun to listen to. You know, that's why I have an appreciation for Eric Clapton, even though he might not necessarily be a guitarist I consider a favorite. You know, with something like this it's also why of all of Eric Clapton's bands, Cream would be my favorite of them among Yardbirds and Blind Faith and Derek and the Dominoes and him solo. Cream is my favorite there as far as his music goes. So I'm going to put this... I'm going to put it in the A tier, A, because the S tier is getting crowded, and B, because for as much as the solo really enthused me, it didn't enthuse me in the way Texas Flood did. Do you think Hammer to Fall could have been an inspiration to the band Hammerfall's name? It probably was. It would not surprise me at all if that was the case. Hey bro, hope you're doing good. Shades, you should do a tier list on Max Martin songs. That could be an interesting concept. Maybe. I'm not sure I've heard all of them, but yeah. When I think of the song Layla, the ending piano music comes to mind. That's my favorite part of the song. I always liked that a lot more than the main song. I always thought it was really cool and relaxing sounding, and it's something that I almost feel like I should have included on my favorite instrumental songs video, even though it kind of breaks the rules. But I guess it would have made for an alright honorable mention. What is this? We got Iron Man by Black Sabbath. Another one of Baby's first guitar riffs. And it's a song that I remember definitely enthusing me my first time hearing it. I thought it was like the heaviest thing in existence. I was thinking to myself, oh my god, this is freaking loud and cool and really big sounding, especially with just how slow the riff is combined with the dynamics. Bow, down, bow, down, bow, it sounds awesome to you as a kid, but I'd be lying if I were to say it didn't sour on me a little bit. But you know, the other parts of the song I don't really feel are really given enough credit. I always like the really kind of gloomy sound of the, I guess this is what you'd call the chorus riff, the do 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 do. And the solo is pretty alright sounding too. My favorite Black Sabbath song, that would be the titular song, Black Sabbath, by Black Sabbath, from the album Black Sabbath. I always thought that was kind of gloomier and creepier, has a cooler solo, and is a bit more interesting. But yeah, Iron Man is Iron Man. I'm going to put this in the A tier. Last one. This would be Spanish Castle Magic by Jimi Hendrix. This is another kind of interesting thing about the version in the game. The version in the game is an instrumental. It doesn't have Jimmy's vocals, which is why I remember when I listened to the original recording for the first time and I'm hearing vocals and I'm like, wait, there's vocals in this? Because my dumb kid mind thought that this was an instrumental song. Because if it was, it'd be a pretty cool instrumental song. Pretty rippin' solo, but because of course there's a rippin' solo. It's Jimi fucking Hendrix. I've always liked him as a guitarist more than I do a vocalist. That's another thing that I feel kind of dragged it down, but not in a really terrible way. But there's definitely a lot to be appreciated about this song. I don't think it gets nearly as much love as other songs that people tend to kind of overblow with his, like, friggin' Purple Haze and Voodoo Child. Though I love Voodoo Child. This song has, like, an interesting kind of flavor to it. Kind of a Spanish flavor, honestly. But yeah, it's cool. Like it a good bit. And so I gotta put it in the already crowded S tier. So that's what we got for our final list. We got a bunch of S tiers, a good few A tiers, a few B tiers, and then only really a couple songs I'd consider real duds and whatnot in the soundtrack anyway. I suppose I can also talk a bit about the bonus songs. Just allow me to go to Wikipedia. List of songs in Guitar Hero. My favorite of the bonus songs, All of This by Seamus. That's a pretty fun one. Behind the Mask by Anarchy Club. Anarchy Club is one of my favorite bonus song bands that I got into through Guitar Hero. The Breaking Wheel by Artillery. I've always been unsure if this is the same 80s thrash band Artillery. I've never been sure, but that's a pretty cool instrumental. Sheet on the Church by Graveyard Barbecue is a pretty alright and pretty creepy sounding bonus song. I never really liked the vocals in that song, though. The guitar I always felt kind of overshadowed it. Decontrol by Drist. Drist is another very cool band that I have Guitar Hero to thank for having a bonus song included in it. The bonus song that Drist had on Guitar Hero 2, Arterial Black, that would be my favorite from Drist. And the whole reason that Drist is even on this is because one of the guitarists that recorded the, cover versions included in the game, Marcus Henderson, that's his band, Fire It Up by Black Label Society, another, very cool one. And this is, of course, how I got exposed to Black Label Society and how I first learned who Zakk Wylde was before I even learned that he had played with Ozzy Osbourne. This was also kind of interesting because in the game, when you play the song, the character is actually playing a Zakk Wylde guitar. I always found that to be kind of a cool nod to the man. A lot of, cool shredding and riffs and all that. My favorite Black Label Society song would have to be Suicide Messiah from the same album that this is from. Why am I blanking on the name of this album? Mafia. Get Ready to Rock by Freeze Pop. Interesting sounding song with some pretty crazy playing in there for a synth poppy rock band. Guitar Hero by Monkey Steals the Peach, I think, was a song probably written for this game. I think it might have been supposed to be the theme song for it. I don't know. Hey by Honest Bob and the Factory to Dealer Incentives, with the longest fucking band name I've ever heard of. Apart from World is a Beautiful Place and I'm Not Afraid to Die. I like this song kind of fine. I think it's actually my favorite, actually, from Honest Bob. And those are my favorite of the bonus songs. But yeah, anyway, let me catch up with the chat. Iron Man, a song that isn't about Iron Man. Not the superhero, but I'm sure, people probably have a headcanon that it is. Another funny story about Iron Man is when I first learned about Iron Maiden, I always thought that their band name was supposed to be a parody of the song Iron Man. Funny enough, I loved Iron Man but Black Sabbath way before I got into metal. I'm here, but my computer's being a dick. Hopefully you can look back on all the fun that we had, because I know I've been telling you about my idea for this stream, Space Metal, because you and I talk about Guitar Hero a lot with each other. I wouldn't be surprised if Iron Man was a contender for the heaviest song in existence upon its release back in 1970. It probably was. Either that or the title track Black Sabbath. Either of those I could easily see people saying that about at the time. I'm more of NIB myself. That's a pretty good song. I just FC'd Smoke on the Water yesterday on GH1. Leaves me with 28 songs to FC on Expert. Excuse me while I kiss this guy. I remember making a Facebook post saying that... actually, no, I think this wasn't in 2015 when gay marriage became legalized, because I remember seeing this in my Facebook memories. It was around the time of Pride Month where I made a post saying, in honor of Pride Month, I'm just going to say, excuse me while I kiss this guy, because it's a very funny, misheard lyric. What would be the duds? Sorry I'm late. The songs that you see in the lower tiers right there, those are the only songs in the Guitar Hero 1 soundtrack that I really consider at all weak at all compared to the rest of the stuff here. Get Ready to Rock is my favorite of the bonus songs, which is unusual since I'm not super ultra massive on electronic, the same degree I am with all the sorts of metal subgenres. That's what makes Freeze Pop so interesting. The fact that they combine synth pop with rock. That's what always really intrigued me about them. I was busy writing an essay about Hercules for my online mythology class. Oh, it ain't a discussion with Space Metal or a stream on this channel without gushing about Hercules. Ha ha! And boy, is it a lot more dismal and gruesome than I imagined. Of course, the Disney movie is a lot more lighthearted and whatnot. I imagine if there was a sequel to Hercules, they would not want to talk about what actually happened. And because it would involve having to talk about Hercules killing his family, basically, because his mother, Hera, told him to. No, Disney would never show that. But yeah, now that I'm done with the tier list, I'm going to export as to desktop, GH1 tier list, export. Now I can go back to the main window, and yeah, been streaming for an hour, definitely. So I don't know if I'm going to keep the stream going for a bit or get off soon, because I've been making a point to try and have my evening meals earlier in the night as a way of fixing my sleep schedule and whatnot. History and mythology are gruesome things. Hell, most classical novels are messed up. Basically, any Disney movie you can think of has a very gruesome history to it. Honestly, if you thought the fucking donkey scene in Pinocchio was messed up, the original freaking writing of the story Pinocchio was crazier, honestly, and scarier. Good lord, Hercules would be slapped with the R rating if they did. They totally would give it an R rating. It would be way more tonally different than the original. It would be even more tonally different than friggin' Hunchback of Notre Dame, an already more mature sounding story in the Disney filmography. Before Iron Man came along, I would say Helter Skelter, the Beatles, would be the heaviest song ever. I can see that. A lot of people, I've seen some people say that Helter Skelter was the first metal song. I can see where they're coming from. Not sure if I agree with them, but I can easily see people saying that at the time. NC-17 is pretty rare nowadays. Yeah. Ugh. So yeah, this was a fun tier list, and I'm looking forward to doing the one for Guitar Hero 2, which I imagine is going to be even crazier than this one. A, because I like the soundtrack a lot better, and B, because the soundtrack is much bigger than the first one. I'm not going to do it. I don't think I want to do it right now. I kind of want to make it its own separate thing. But be on the lookout for that soon. I doubt there's going to be that much of a wait between this. I'm probably going to zip through these over the course of this week or so, or maybe next week, depending on how much I feel like getting it done. I don't want to rush it either and force it or anything like that either. That's another thing I really don't like doing. But rest assured, I do plan on doing tier lists for 2, 3, and Rock the 80s. I don't know if I'm going to do 4. Maybe I'll do one for Rock Band 1 or 2 if you guys are interested in that. But that's what I feel like doing as far as these Guitar Hero tier list streams. Because it makes for a fun story times where I talk about the songs and my history with the songs and my relationship with the band nowadays and how that's changed and all that. Gives you a chance to learn more about me and the music nerd that I would grow to become over time. Because, as I've said on my channel a number of times, I owe Guitar Hero a lot for really influencing my music taste and exposing me to a lot of the bands that I know nowadays. Because prior to Guitar Hero, I didn't really have much of a music taste beyond the Beatles, Green Day, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Songs About Jane by Maroon 5, and some select songs that I would hear on the radio and whatnot. What would you say is the first metal song in your opinion? I don't know. I think it makes sense giving the credit to Black Sabbath for the first metal band, mostly because I don't really like calling 60s bands metal. Metal became more of a thing once Black Sabbath was mobilized. Though Deep Purple did exist before them, though I would say they definitely, put out heavier stuff as they got into their career. I don't really listen to a lot of super early Deep Purple before Deep Purple and rock. Though, if you were to say that Deep Purple were the first metal band, I wouldn't argue that. It's always, between Black Sabbath and Deep Purple, some people throw Led Zeppelin in. I don't really like throwing Led Zeppelin in there. So, I don't know what I would say the first metal song is, honestly. Get your popcorn ready, folks. Extreme Edgy Mountain Dew. Yes, I always need to have a drink on me because talking a lot makes me thirsty. Go figure. I have 11 songs left to FC on GH2. You've been keeping me updated with that. Disney has quite a record of adapting some pretty damn brutal stories. Yeah, I was talking about this earlier. Little Mermaid, Pinocchio, Sleeping Beauty, Hunchback of Notre Dame, and especially Fox and the Hound. I didn't even know Fox and the Hound was adapted from anywhere, but I would not... I could only imagine how dark and dramatic that the original story for that was, because even the Disney movie has some pretty dark moments and whatnot. And probably the one part in a Disney movie, I mentioned this on a stream before, but when Todd gets left in the woods and she turns around in the car and leaves him, that part always makes me tear up in a way that I don't tear up often when it comes to, Disney movies and all that. But yeah, GH2 has an intense soundtrack. 6, Trogdor, Beast in the Harlot, Hangar 18, Jordan, Light the Blind, Thunder Horse. Yeah, again, I'm not going to spoil too much, but we're going to have a lot to talk about there. Rock Band 2 had the best soundtrack of the series. I think I own Rock Band 2. I've only played it a couple times, neither of which were at my house. One was at one of my friends' houses back in high school, and the other was in one of my older cousins' old apartments. I remember playing Round and Round with my brother and my cousin's fiance. That was fun. Funny how Rock Band is a whole game based on the Beatles and Green Day, now that you mention it. Yeah. Just like Guitar Hero has... Yeah. Right. I just realized you're referring, since Beatles and Green Day were one of the few bands I listened to in elementary school. Yeah. Similar to how Guitar Hero has Guitar Hero Metallica, Guitar Hero Aerosmith. And I think that's it. Yeah. I miss rock in the mainstream. Yeah. If you watch my Why I Hate the Rock is Dead argument video, I think I give some good ideas on things that can help, rock not be an old thing and whatnot. Of course, the last video that Punk Rock MBA posted before the one he did today, where he talks about guitars being in, rap songs and pop songs and whatnot, and how that keeps it prevalent and all that, and these current artists doing kind of rocky, emo kind of things, keeping that prevalent and whatnot, and how that's a thing that, rock fans should be more open to and appreciative of, and I'm definitely appreciative of it. I'm not going to say that it's a bad thing and whatnot, because that seems like kind of a boomer thing to say, and the one thing that I think would help is if people just stopped being boomers. What do you think of Flight of the Rat, Deep Purple? Cool song. My favorite song of Deep Purple's, it's between Burn and Lazy. You telling me Mickey Mouse is a horror movie? And now we insert a reference to fucking House of Mouse. Not sure if I'd want to know the gruesome brutality of the original stories, those Disney story adaptations, because the original Hercules story has got my mind scarred. Yeah. I remember watching a video from Maddox back when people, didn't clown on him a lot. I remember he made a video talking about the original Little Mermaid story and how he likes that over the Disney version. And one line that I remember, one part of the video I remember there, is when he plays a clip from Part of Your World when Ariel sings, "I want more," and then it shows Sebastian going like, and he's basically saying, that's my reaction, pretty much, and I thought that was kind of funny. If you'd like to know how messed up the original Fox and the Hound novel is, go watch John Solo's video about it from his Messed Up Origin series. Round and Round is super annoying to grind. Yeah. Not a bad song. I'll talk more about that when we get to the Guitar Hero Rock the 80s tier list. But it's far from my favorite from Rat. While these rappers ain't rock band, though, I appreciate them try to expose guitar music to the new generation. That's exactly the thing that I like about Post Malone. The biggest thing that I like about him, I should say, is that he really has an appreciation and a respect for that community, and he actually wants to actually play a part in it and whatnot, and sort of have kind of a cross-promotion, cross-platform kind of thing going. And that's another thing that I think people should be more open to, and not just shut him off because, oh, he's a rapper, he does these stupid sad boy sounding rap and it's fucking gay and all that. It's like, come on. He's a good artist if you really break his sound down. I'd take listening to Post over a lot of people these days. A lot of, pop artists these days, I should say. The 7 Deadly Sins I have left on GH80s. No One Like You, Round and Round, Electric Eye, 17, Because It's Midnight, Play With Me, and Ballroom Blitz. Funny you mentioned Play With Me. I set that for my alarm this morning, and it's been in my head for most of today. Why are rabid female nostalgia purists, blowhard right-wingers referred to as Karens? I don't know. I guess because Karen sounds like a typical middle-aged housewife name and whatnot. That's like the best I can really come up with there. What if Little Mermaid is a horror movie with Ariel eating human? Ooh. I like the song itself, just the chart on the engine is a pain in the nuts. Round and Round, if on Clone Hero, wouldn't be so bad. I even FC'd it on Guitar Hero Smash Hits. It's meant to be a joke since Karen is a very typical middle-aged woman name, kind of like Tom or John. Yeah, he made a song with Ozzy, says a lot about Post. Yeah, he really has a love for it, for as much as he might not exactly be making the music himself, and even sort of, walked away from it once he got rejected. I think he auditioned, I believe the band was Fit for a King, I think. And he got turned down there and then just went in a completely different musical direction. It'd be easy to say, oh, he's a poser. He just wants to fucking hop on a popular trend because he just wants his freaking cash. But, I see him making Take What You Want, as well as the song that he appeared on Ordinary Man with. I forget what it was. But him doing those things is indicative of him, actually being a good asset to the metal community, and something and someone that, you know, we shouldn't just completely just, you know, shit on and whatnot just because his music might not be your thing. It doesn't need to be your thing, but, you know, we should at least appreciate that about Post. I see, because my friends have had an obnoxiously strict astral teacher that had her first name as Karen. She even gave detention for dropping pencils by mistake, just like the fucking clip from the Simpsons in Treehouse of Horror 5, my favorite Treehouse of Horror, where the kid drops a pencil and Miss Krabappel is like, detention. It's like that come to life. Karen is such a snowflake. Yeah, Karen is basically sort of a new term for sort of female, older woman snowflake kind of thing. John I can buy as a reverse boomer if you get who I'm. Well, he has some boomer opinions kind of as well, but yeah, I get what you mean there. Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous, and yeah, I've definitely seen my fair share of ridiculous women myself. I've seen one on Instagram not too long ago, reverse boomer name. I'm off to play some Pokemon Go. I'll catch you later. Have a good night. I'm surprised people still play Pokemon Go. I don't really hear many people talking about it these days. Kind of sad, because I remember back in 2016 when it was brand new and everybody was talking about it. That was honestly kind of sort of the reason why I never really got on board the trend, is because I didn't want to come off like a poser, and because I knew that the thing would probably, you know, that the popularity would sort of dwindle over time, and I sort of saw that happening in like fall. She has said and done a lot more ludicrous shit too. Just thought I'd give you the gist. I like Digimon better than Pokemon. I never watched Digimon, so I don't really have much of a say there. But yeah. But yeah. Another thing I should say about Karens is whenever I see you know, people sharing posts about people complaining about the term Karen or being called Karen, you know, I almost sort of see that as the white equivalent of the N-word. And so you're thinking like, well, if being called Karen bothers you so much, maybe you should think about how black people might feel if you call them the N-word. Not all of them, mind you. Some people are more, you know, chill with it and whatnot. Like, I have like a couple black friends that don't really mind me using it and whatnot. But, you know, obviously not everybody's going to be like that. So I sort of feel like the playing field there has been equaled just by the existence of Karen. And that's the one thing I kind of appreciate about the term. Yeah, Pokemon Go was sort of more like a trend of that time that would die out, similar to Fortnite or fidget spinners. Funny you mentioned fidget spinners, because my little fidget spinner collection is actually right next to me. I got this one, which is all silvery and metally. We got a blue one that makes kind of a metallic kind of spinning noise. We got this kind of wood flannel looking one. And finally, because I'm from Massachusetts, got a Red Sox one, courtesy of my brother. And this makes the best sound of the four of them. All the Karens had the same hair too, short, ugly hair. I'm just imagining freaking 90s bob cuts, kind of. I'm also thinking of freaking Karen from The Office, who Jim was with for like one season before getting with Pam. Mostly white hair. Yeah. Basically think of it as like female boomer. Or female loudmouth entitled older woman bitch kind of person. But yeah, that is the thing there. That's my take on the term, and yeah. Ugh. All right, what are these mentions that I'm getting in my Discord? Yeah. Kaz, I love you, but your server, there's way too much going on in there. I'm both fine and not fine with using Karen to label blowhard female nostalgia purists / boomers, because a friend of mine had a kitty named Karen, and that might be offensive to Pluto's moon, LMAO. I'm starting to think Karen is behind rock downfall in the mainstream. Perhaps. I imagine that Karens tend to be those kinds of people that are like, why can't the 80s come back? I hate music today. 80s music was so much better and whatnot. It's like, yeah, there's some good 80s songs and some great 80s bands and whatnot, but honestly, I would rather go forward with rock and metal rather than regress back or stay stagnant. Because that's another big thing about, about the idea of rock being dead is the stagnation in various metal scenes. This is why I shift my attention a lot to prog these days, is because that scene is not stagnant. I don't really see the alternative metal scene as being too stagnant. I mean, there are some bands that are kind of stagnant there, but for the most part, they are not, sticking to what they know and whatnot. Like Alter Bridge is definitely a band that is always doing something different on each of their albums. There's like a different general sound on each of their albums that differentiates it from the last. And that's very forward thinking and not being stagnant and whatnot. Metalcore I don't see as being too stagnant. Traditional metal has the potential to not be stagnant. Sometimes it comes off that way, though. That's the thing. Stagnant as far as staying confined in the underground, as well as stagnation musically and whatnot, and just doing the same thing because they know that that's what their core audience likes. Maybe Karen complained to Billboard and stopped rock from being mainstream. Who knows? And yeah, to what you said previously, that's what the one ridiculous woman I shared on Atticus's Discord, if you've seen it, pretty much said. I hate music today is super Karen-like. It's very boomer-like. That bullshit had been said since the fucking 60s. Exactly. Like, I'm sure there were people in the 70s that were like really nostalgic for 50s music and wanted that to come back and all that. And in the 80s, you sort of got some throwbacks to 50s stuff, like with Stray Cats. And said constantly throughout 80s, since a lot of people headed the synth sound effect. It's like, you do realize that bands were using synths in the 70s. Like, synth is a core fundamental of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and a number of other bands in the 70s. They used synths. It's not just an 80s thing. Maybe Billboard listened to them in 2010s and moved rock from their mainstream charts. That that seems a bit too simple. Hell, Stray Cats were a throwback band, as you just said, as I started to write this comment. Yeah. Yeah. They're a throwback at the time, and I'd still consider them a throwback now. That's why the concept of throwback bands isn't really anything new. You know, some people think that they started being a thing in the 2000s. They really didn't. Stray Cats would definitely be one of probably my favorite throwback bands. Which, now that I think of it, that could be a subject for a countdown. I'm going to add that to my topic list right now. There it is. Music lists. Top 10 throwback bands. Yeah. I imagine that would be a fun one to do. I have a lot of countdown ideas. It's just so daunting because they take the longest for me to edit. Wonder where Greta Fen Fleet is now. Haven't heard of them since 2017. Their debut full length came out in 2018, and I remember, you know, people complaining about it, acting like, this is a blatant rip-off of Led Zeppelin, which, if you watch my rip-offs video, I kind of argue against that. I imagine they're probably working on new material right now, and what I'm hoping with them is that their next album doesn't sound too much like the first one. Because I feel a band's catalog should always see little evolutions take place with each release. You know, your stuff shouldn't sound too similar to your last album. There should always be something different that you incorporate into it to make it stick out, to differentiate it from everything else. And if Greta Van Fleet doesn't do that, then they're going to be seen as a one-trick pony, and their one trick is sounding like Led Zeppelin and whatnot. And no one outside of people that just want rock to sound like the 70s are really going to be, you know, taking them seriously. I like 70s bluesy hard rock fine. I'm not sure how much more of that I really think we need in the 2020s. I'm kind of wanting something a little more. Like, they can still, you know, retain their roots and whatnot. Like, I can appreciate and respect that. But, you know, if you aren't doing anything to... You know what I'm trying to say. Basically, if they don't do anything to really shake things up, then I don't think people are really going to give as much of a shit about them going forward. And they're just going to, you know, dwindle from there and be kind of a flash in the pan kind of thing. Boomers / Karens, they're nothing but Led Zeppelin rip-offs. It's not even just boomers and Karens that were saying that. It's millennials that were saying that too. But we need music like Led Zeppelin too. That is what the boomers and Karens are saying. They complain that they sound too much like Led Zeppelin, but at the same time think that rock music sucks now and needs to be like the fucking 70s and 80s again. Make up your goddamn mind. Exactly. No innovations, no intrigue. Exactly. And that is, in my opinion, the biggest problem with hard rock as a genre, especially in the current generation, is that there's only really so much you can really do in that genre. And again, that's kind of why my attention tends to veer over to prog and alt metal, because it's not as one-dimensional as hard rock tends to be. You know, I think this is another thing that punk rock MBA has talked about before, that I don't think there's really anywhere more that particular genre can really go. And that's something that you really need to ask yourself with a lot of genres when it comes to maintaining relevance and, you know, even becoming more of a mainstream thing, is, can this genre really be taken anywhere else? And the answer needs to be yes. Otherwise it's just going to be stagnation, kind of. Punk Rock MBA is absolutely right. He's a very smart man. I don't really agree with him all the time. There's some things he says that just make me go, oh. But he definitely has a lot of inside information on the inner workings of the industry and social media and trends and various career paths for bands and all that. And that's why I take his input very seriously. I still, however, love the bands Razorfist brought exposure to in his top 6 new heavy metal bands. Of course, you know, like, he's free to like that kind of stuff. I can appreciate that stuff too. Ambush and Enforcer and to an extent Haunt. All solid stuff. And there have been other bands that I got exposed to through him including a song of theirs in his credits where he plays something. And I always get really excited when it's a band I've never heard of. One thing I've sort of noticed about some of the bands he includes in his ending credits is he really likes Goran Edman. Like, there have been quite a few bands that when I look into them after hearing them in one of his videos, I look them up and Goran Edman is the vocalist, and I'm like, that's why he likes them. He loves Goran Edman. If I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know if the G is silent or anything like that. You know who I'm talking about. The vocalist on Eclipse and Fire and Ice from Yngwie. Good vocalist, definitely. But yeah, I enjoy, you know, traditional metal, kind of a throwback to 80s traditional metal. I enjoy that stuff fine. White Wizard is awesome and whatnot. But, like, again, you know, that problem with hard rock can also kind of apply with throwback bands as well. Like, I can appreciate a throwback band, but, you know, there's only really so much that particular sound can really go. And if you can really take it somewhere and actually, you know, bring something new to the table, that is something that I think would really interest people. BTW, I did not even know the band Steeler existed until I discovered... Really? You'd think if you know the history of Yngwie Malmsteen, that Steeler and Alcatraz would be bands that you would probably know. That's how I discovered both of those bands, was looking into the discography and the history of Yngwie Malmsteen and seeing both of those. Those are like the first 2 albums that he made before putting out Rising Force. And it's like, ooh, a young Yngwie Malmsteen, a young, like, I think he was like 18 on that Steeler album. And a little bit older on No Parole from Rock and Roll. So they're important to his legacy. Not to mention Steeler, the vocalist in that band is also Ron Keel of Keel. Sabire. I actually discovered Ambush and Enforcer through iTunes recommendations because of my absurd love for Sabaton, but other bands, I blow up my library because of him. I'm an uncultured swine. We're all uncultured to varying degrees. I don't consider myself a genius or anything like that. I'm just as uncultured as anybody. This is just me being humble. And since I think we're getting close to the 2-hour mark, and just in like 20 more minutes it'll be the 2-hour mark, and because I'd like to get to, making some food soon, I'm going to cut the stream now. I don't know if I'll come back tomorrow for the Guitar Hero 2 tier list, or if that'll be like the next day or the day after that, but I would like to do it soon. So be on the lookout for that. So thank you for watching this. Thank you for hanging here. Take care and have a good rest of your evening. I'm Shades, and I'll see you next time.